For millennia, sacred texts have offered guidance, wisdom, and a foundation for belief. Yet, within their ancient pages, certain passages remain shrouded in mystery, continuing to provoke questions rather than provide simple answers. What if the purpose of these texts was not to give definitive conclusions, but to invite a deeper, more personal journey of reflection? This exploration delves into those enduring enigmas, not to solve them, but to understand why they persist and what they might reveal about the nature of faith, history, and the human search for meaning. Ancient writings, by their very nature, carry layers of complexity. Scholars have noted that the passage of time, the nuances of translation, and the loss of original cultural context can create ambiguity. A phrase that held clear meaning to its original audience might appear opaque to modern eyes. There are records indicating that even early communities debated the significance of certain narratives. These texts were composed in languages and cultures vastly different from our own, using idioms and conventions that are not always directly translated. The process of copying manuscripts by hand over centuries could also introduce subtle variations, each one potentially altering the shade of meaning for future generations. This inherent distance between the ancient world and our own is a primary reason why some passages resist a single, universally accepted interpretation. Furthermore, many of these texts are rich with symbolic and poetic language. Rather than presenting straightforward historical accounts, they often employ metaphor, allegory, and imagery to convey profound truths. This literary style is not designed for literal interpretation alone. For example, descriptions of cosmic events or divine encounters might be intended to evoke a sense of awe and wonder, rather than serve as a scientific record. When language transcends the literal, it opens the door to multiple layers of meaning. Scholars suggest that this was often intentional, allowing the text to resonate with different people in different ways across diverse areas. A single passage could be read as a moral lesson, a historical reference, a prophetic vision, or a personal spiritual guide, all at the same time. This richness is a source of their enduring power, but also a source of unending questions. Understanding the historical context in which these passages were written is crucial. The social norms, political struggles, and philosophical currents of the time deeply influence what was written and how it was understood. There are interpretations that view certain texts as responses to specific events, such as exile, persecution, or internal community disputes. As societies evolved, so did their perspectives. A passage that once addressed a particular historical circumstance could be reinterpreted centuries later to speak to new challenges. This dynamic process shows that meaning is not always static. It is often a dialogue between the ancient text and the contemporary reader. The questions we ask of these passages today are shaped by our own world, just as the original writings were shaped by theirs. So, why do these questions persist? Why have centuries of scholarship and theological debate not settled every ambiguity? Perhaps the reason is that they were never meant to be fully settled. Some scholars suggest that the presence of uncertainty is a fundamental feature of this type of literature. These texts often deal with concepts that are beyond the scope of ordinary human experience: the nature of divinity, the meaning of existence, the mystery of creation. In this context, ambiguity is not a flaw, but a reflection of the profound subjects being addressed. It creates a space for faith, contemplation, and personal engagement. By resisting simple explanations, these passages compel each generation to wrestle with them anew, ensuring their continued relevance and vitality. They invite a journey of inquiry, rather than providing a final destination. Throughout history, the interpretation of these enigmatic passages has shifted dramatically. In one era, a particular narrative might be understood as a literal account of historical events. In another, the very same narrative could be seen as a complex allegory for the human spiritual journey. There are interpretations from early theologians that differ significantly from those proposed during the Reformation or the Enlightenment. Each period brought its own tools, philosophies, and cultural lenses to the text. Some scholars suggest that these evolving interpretations are not necessarily contradictory, but rather complementary, each uncovering a different facet of a multidimensional work. This continuous re-examination highlights the depth of the source material, proving its capacity to speak to the human condition across vastly different historical moments. The dialogue with these texts is a living one, constantly unfolding through time. Let us pause and reflect on this. What is the role of mystery in a spiritual tradition? Does an unanswered question weaken faith, or can it, in fact, deepen it? The search for answers is a powerful human drive, but perhaps there is also value in learning to dwell with the questions themselves. The passages that elude easy definition can become catalysts for profound personal reflection. They encourage humility, reminding us that some truths may lie beyond our immediate grasp. They foster a sense of wonder, inviting us to look beyond the surface and into the deeper currents of meaning. Rather than creating a barrier, this inherent mystery can serve as a gateway, inviting a more intimate and sustained engagement with the text, one that is less about finding answers and more about embarking on a journey. If this exploration of ancient mysteries has sparked your curiosity, we invite you to continue the journey with us. Subscribe to our channel and join a community dedicated to thoughtful reflection. Liking this video and sharing it helps support the creation of more content that explores these profound questions with the respect and depth they deserve. We value your perspective, so please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. We have explored why some ancient passages continue to generate questions, from the challenges of translation and historical context to the nature of symbolic language. We have seen how interpretations evolve over time and how mystery itself can play a vital role in a spiritual journey. This leads us to a final, open-ended thought. What if the true purpose of these enduring enigmas is not to test our ability to find a single correct answer, but to continually awaken our sense of wonder?